Today we're here talking about model nightmares. I brought in 3 different models off of social media, and they're all pretty different. One is a plus size model, one is your standard industry model, and one is a male model. I thought it would be really awesome to get all 3 different perspectives and hear their stories. So I know we all have bad model experiences and nightmares, and most of the time they kind of go away without ever really being talked about. As for me, I know I definitely had a few. I try to avoid things a lot by checking my references, and sometimes that doesn't always even help. Once I went to go shoot with a guy. I was traveling, so of course funds were pretty important. I got to a shoot, I expected to make X amount of money. There was an agreement of what my limitations were and what we were shooting. And I get there, and it seems like this comes up a lot in the industry, where I thought we were shooting one thing, and the photographer all of a sudden thought that it was okay to push my limitations. I was supposed to shoot with him for about 4 hours. I got 2 hours through the shoot, and the whole time it was very uncomfortable because he kept hemming and hawing, like literally. He'd be like, oh, well, you could just move that strap this way, or you could just take that off and it doesn't matter. And I'd be like, no, I'm really uncomfortable. And he would sit behind the camera and literally like, and I didn't really know what to do with that. Finally, after 2 hours of going through the struggle of just trying to get through the shoot, I finally was just like, I really don't need to do this. At a certain point, I realized that I just really didn't want to go through this, that getting great pictures wasn't really worth the whole struggle of dealing with somebody that didn't respect my limitations. Eventually, we had a chat. I did end up staying because it was able to be resolved. But it was definitely a nightmare I wish I could have avoided. I ended up not getting the pictures I wanted. You could see I was uncomfortable in every picture. It was horrible. So I wanted to get a better idea about how common this type of nightmare situation happens, and if we could just chat a little bit about it and see how deal with these situations better, and hopefully knowing that we're not going to be alone in it, because it happens.
Thankfully it's been mostly positive, but there has been some instances where people will create accounts and make groups for models, and then they sort of like cyber prey on them to where they start sending you messages, and they send you kind of really weird, inappropriate messages. It's a lot of people asking you if you want to do like nude work, or they just message you and say like, nice boobs. Like, that's a risk you take, putting yourself out there on the internet. But again, when I brand myself, I don't do nude work. I very draw the line at swimsuit. So I don't, do anything like that, but you still get people message you, hi sexy, what's up, I would love to do all this. And so it can be kind of scary, but at the same time, you can block them. And also don't be afraid to share and tell people hey, this guy messaged me, watch out for him, because they prey on other people too. So I would say that be an advocate. Don't be afraid to call people out, post screenshots, because others people's safety matter too.
That's what I always thought. If you just repost the dick pics that we get sent in our email and just have a collage.
Yeah, and because there's only so much reporting. Facebook will report it obviously, but they create another account. They just go in Facebook jail and they're right back out. So, but be an advocate for women in general and let them know, because they deserve to know. So.
Cool.
Throughout that journey, it has definitely been sprinkled with obstacles and challenging craziness. One thing I can think of is really, really long shoots and not getting pictures back. I did a 5-hour shoot where I didn't get any photos back, or I got one photo back. So sometimes you work really, really hard with no results. But you have to keep working hard because you will get them. And also, who's to say that you're going to have any usable photos from them if you get them back, anyway. So I would definitely say it's a risk you have to take. Obviously, if you don't feel comfortable. Yeah. And honestly, don't be surprised if you do a whole shoot and you get one photo back. Yeah. Sometimes that's how it is. That's why I say, if you want control, you have to pay for the photographer, and then you have that control. You can say what you want. You can say what you need.
You're kind of like a sitting
when you're
duck
getting paid, or when you're just doing like a collaboration, you don't have that control. So all you can do is just hope for the best. But that outpouring kindness, just always, thank you so much for shooting with me. I can't wait to see the images, or even send a follow-up shoot or follow-up text and say, I had a great shoot. I can't wait to see the proofs or something. But understand that takes time, and you don't expect the photographer to give you 500 images within an hour. It's just
probably not.
Yeah, be lucky if you get them, if that, and just be grateful and thankful, and understand that it is a risk. Don't let that hold you back. Take those risks, do it, put your best foot forward. Always give your best. The most obvious challenge would obviously be like size and weight and kind of like that, just because some people are still a little behind the times when realizing that plus size modeling and that kind of stuff is like a very big part of the modeling industry, and that it is here to stay, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, no, because look at our population.
People are going to need to wear clothing.
Not everybody is a tall girl.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And, again, with, age, race, men, women, young, old, it's going to be something for everybody out there. It's been challenging as far as agents, because they want to put you in a box because they don't know what to do with you. If you're not super, super skinny, but you're not super, super huge, you're kind of like right on the cusp. There is like no average. It has to be like one extreme or the other. So I would say, just like to agents and photographers, be open. If a plus size model or somebody who's not a typical, fitness model or something approaches you, don't be so maybe quick to like turn that away. Maybe kind of embrace that, see what you can learn from that. Just realizing that only half of it is prettiness. The other half of it is you have to work it as a business, as like, your website, your business cards, everything like that, your content. So what got me started was I just love doing it. And then I was kind of, trying to decide, like, should I keep doing this? Is this just silly? Like, I don't look like a typical model. And I did an agency showcase where I was meeting a bunch of different agents in Atlanta. And there was a teenage girl there also. She was like 15 or 16. And she was just asking me about like what I did and everything like that. And I told her that I did acting and modeling. And she just looked at me and said, how do you do modeling? And I said, I just do it. And she goes, but you're so short. And she was like, my agents told me I can't be a model. And that just made me sick. Yeah. So from that point on, I just decided, like, young women have it in their head that they can't be or can't do something. And it's not just modeling. What if somebody told her you can't be a doctor, or you can't be a teacher, or you can't be a nurse? And so I was like, that's just unacceptable. So then it became not about me. It became about people watching me. Young women, even older women, just men, just, kids. And they're watching that. And so it was kind of like that, like, anecdote, that antithesis to people saying no. And she, like, I'm 5'5", and she was like, well, I'm 5'7", and they told me I can't be a model because I'm 5'9", and I was like, that's unacceptable. Like, you just do it. Be kind and do it because you love it. Don't think everything has to be perfect. Definitely be prepared. The more prepared you are, the more relaxed you're going to be. But at the end of the day, it's supposed to be something fun and what you love. And if it's not, then you need to reevaluate why you're doing it. And I would say, don't apologize for anything. Definitely push boundaries, and don't be afraid to, like, really take your work, like, to extremes, experiment. It doesn't always have to be pretty. Modeling isn't always about pretty.
Yeah.
It's about storytelling. Sometimes it's downright ugly.
Yeah.
Sometimes, the faces you make, channel those feelings and try to convey those feelings into your images.
Yeah.
Play with your camera, play with your settings, play with really, really dark shadows, play with really, really bright light. Just understand and just keep doing it.
See, I think it's different for guys and girls.
Okay.
Because for me, I never have a problem when I'm working with somebody. It's always fine. Watch for scams. I would say the best thing would do is go to people's Instagrams that you know and click on, if you see someone's picture that you follow, click on it, go to the photographer, and that way if they're legit and stuff like that, and contact them and see if they're willing to do a trade. You want to do trade shoots because people will be taken advantage of. There's a lot of those scams of like, hey, you look great and stuff like that, but it's gonna cost you $600 to do this photo shoot.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think in their mind that they have to pay for a photo shoot, that the paid photo shoot is gonna look better than a trade photo shoot. If I like the picture, I'll click on it and then I'll hit up the photographer and then shoot with them.
Cool.
So I've done that a lot. One thing you have to watch out for, especially on Model Mayhem, is the paid ones that what they'll do is, and I don't know how people fall for it, but they do. If you get a long email of like, yeah, we want you to shoot in 12 different outfits. We want to pay you up front.
Yeah.
We'll come to you, this and that. As soon as you get that long email, you know it's a scam. And what they'll do is they will send you a check in the mail.
Oh.
And the thing is,
that.
then they'll be like, oops, we sent you too much. Can you send this much back? Well, by the time you try to cash this thing, that's gonna bounce. But I've known people who have fallen for it and sent money back. Went to this mansion, and the guy is known to drug the girls.
Oh, wow.
And her friend went, she doesn't drink at all. And she's like, oh, I'll just have like a smoothie or whatever. But whatever he put, GHB or Hypnol, something in her drink, and she had to, and there's no service up there where she was at. She had to climb a fence to get out to call an Uber.
Oh, that's so horrible.
And this guy, and the weird thing is, he's known to do this, but people still, it's weird, I don't get how. Maybe because he has a lot of money, and money is power, so I have no idea. I had a guy, I used to live in Orange County at the time, and this guy was living in North Hollywood. And he was like, hey, I want to, shoot you. He was gonna, put me in wardrobe. Perfect. I always like shooting in other stuff besides myself.
Yeah.
And some of it was gonna be shirtless, so I'm like, okay, that's fine. So on my way there, I get a text message from a casting director saying, hey, is there any way you can send a selfie shirtless for a beach shoot, but it has to be in by 5 o'clock today to the client, whatever. I'm like, where am I going to do this at? I was not going to be back in Orange County until after. So I tried to go to a Ralph's in North Hollywood, but the window was all tagged up. So I'm like, this ain't going to work. So, but I was thinking, you know what? I'm shooting shirtless with this guy anyway. Let me just ask him. And so I go in and I'm like, hey, I said, I had a casting director hit me up. I need to take a shirtless picture real quick. I know it sounds kind of weird, but I won't be back at home in time. Oh, yeah, sure, go ahead. So I went to take one real quick. As soon as I come out of the bathroom, he was like, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. I'm like, why? Because I feel uncomfortable now. Uncomfortable about what? And I'm like, dude, I showed him the text message. I'm like, here, it's right here. It's legit. I go, you were gonna shoot me shirtless anyway. What's the big deal? So when I left, I had a feeling that he was gonna put it in the Model Mayhem forums. And I searched him, and sure enough, I'm reading it. And he's like, yeah, I had this model come down saying, at the time I was like 34 maybe, I think, I don't even know, 35. And he's like, yeah, he said he was like 34, but he looked like 44 or whatever. I don't know if he was on Red Bull or on speed. I have no idea, whatever he was on. And so what I did was, in his messages to me, he would say, he goes, yeah, he goes, I don't like to shoot little boys and stuff like that. I like to shoot people that that know what they're doing.
Oh, wow.
And he even used the word rape in a sentence. But for me, I was like, yeah, whatever. For a girl, I can understand you can freak out. But for me, I was like, yeah, whatever. But I'm like, okay, you can play this game. So I decided to copy and paste that and throw it on the forum too.
Of course.
And then people started,
getting
caught and go, wait a minute, I know who this is. I forget the photographer's name.
Mm-hmm.
It was so long ago. But yeah, that was one of them. I had another one who lived in Long Beach.
Okay.
And he had sent me a thing. He's like, hey, he goes, what type of stuff do you want to shoot? And I told him, I said, commercial, I'll do board shorts, just the typical headshots, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's okay. He goes, well, could you come over to do a fitting first so we can have everything ready to go? And I'm like, all right. So I go over there and he has these like tight ass like silver span. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, I'm not gonna wear this.
It wasn't the shoot you were expecting.
No, but I'm not gonna wear this. And he was like, well, since I'm shooting you, for your stuff that you need, would it be okay if you shoot for stuff that I need? I'm like, well, what? He goes, well, like nude stuff.
Oh.
I'm like, nude? I'm like, what am I gonna do with that? And he just kept going and going about it. And
Do you think he was hiring you more just because he was?
He just wanted the nude
Yeah.
pictures. I'm like, dude, I have no need for them.
Mm-hmm.
If it's with a girl, different story.
So how did you end up handling that?
I didn't shoot with him.
Okay, you just left.
No, yeah. I told him, I said, dude, I said, this is no different than a male photographer hounding a girl about shooting nude and she keeps saying no. There's no difference at all. I have a right to say no too, just like the female does. A lot of guys probably become photographers and who have money
Of course.
to shoot girls half naked or naked because they know that in real life, there's no way on earth they would see that person naked. So they become photographers.
Yeah.
And then they have the money to pay. And a lot of times the girls aren't going to say no to it. You guys have it worse. So the stories that I have is pretty basic. I'm not really, even when that photographer said rape in a sentence, I didn't take it seriously because I wasn't worried about my life. I wasn't worried about nothing. You send that to a female, she's not going to go to the shoot.
No.
That's common sense.
Not at all.
But for us, I've never really had any other type of like bad experiences when it comes to that. Everything's been fine for me.
When a model is first starting out and she is thinking about like the nightmares, you typically just think somebody wants nudes. Like that's like what you but there's other type of things that are warning signs and alarming that isn't necessarily down that avenue. It's not all creepy photographers are just trying to get you naked. Like some of them, it can be more of a scam where they are either trying to charge you for something without like follow through.
Yes.
There can
I've
be
seen that.
where they are bringing you to shady locations where they're going to be giving you what you're expecting isn't what you get.
Okay.
Essentially. I had a photographer that I was working with, and we were talking for months, and we were planning a shoot to raise awareness for mental health.
Okay.
And everything was planned out and everything was good, and he knew that I wasn't into implied nudity or anything. And he never brought it up until like 2 weeks before we were planning on shooting. And he was like, he sent me one image that was very erotic, I guess you could say.
Okay.
And was like, I would really like to sneak this in. And I was like,
well, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, but I mean, and that's where like we had been talking for so many months and he had never brought that up. I had never felt uncomfortable once talking to him.
Yeah,
I had
that's
no
just kinda shocking.
worries even going into it until I got that message. So even though I already had like a relationship, that's when it was so hard to back out, because a lot of the time, like even if you sense it in your gut, like 9 times out of 10 your gut feeling is right.
So you actually didn't end up taking the job? You
No,
just said,
absolutely not.
No.
But the hard part is sometimes as models, especially beginning in TFP, we don't know how to say no. Like we don't know how to, because it's one thing when you're in that situation already and getting out of it, but when you see it ahead of time and you've already planned the shoot, you already put so much time and effort into it, how do you tell that person, now you're making me feel uncomfortable, I would not like to come?
If you're worried about the money will come later.
Yeah, like it's not worth it. If you don't feel comfortable, it's really not worth it.
Because it's your brand, it's your quality, it's
Yeah.
the work that you're going to book later, it's your safety.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
should come first.
Come first, absolutely.
But I think a lot of girls just get so hung up with this, oh, well, I need to make the money, where
Right.
it can't be about that. And I think the other thing that I wish models would understand, if something bad happens, don't be afraid to tell other people.
Right.
Don't be afraid to go back to the websites where you found a predator on to announce who they are.
Yeah.
And I know some people may come back and like argue this to be like, no, you don't want to cause trouble. But the more we know as models, I feel
Yeah.
the better off everybody is.
Right, absolutely. And I think too, just knowing your limits, because I've been in situations where it was
And being
like,
clear about them.
right, exactly. And I've been in situations where it was like, you know, the baggy sweater with the booty shorts, and you think that's it. But then when you're in that situation, it's so easy for the photographer to be like, well, just take a little more off, and for you to be like, well, I guess it's just, I feel so comfortable right now, I guess it's okay.
Yeah.
But know your limits and know your boundaries.
stand to
And
them.
yeah, exactly. And it's okay to say, you know, after further research, I feel like our styles don't match as well as I thought they did. And maybe in the future we can plan something else, but at this time I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Back in Minnesota, we had a safety page. Photographers weren't
Awesome.
allowed in unless they were models as well.
Yeah.
And it was basically where you could say, before you went to any shoot, you could
Like
say,
a
have you worked
blacklist.
with so-and-so, what was your experience? And people would either say, like, don't work with this person, or worked with them, he was great, got your images back in X amount of time, like whatever. You got all the information that you wanted. You could search any photographer. If there was no information on them, you could use your best judgment, obviously.
Yeah, intuition.
Yeah.
Intuition is everything.
I've been very, very
in one of
cautious.
these nightmares.
I've definitely had certain photographers that I've decided not to work with lash out and were very angry. I've never had anybody post anything awful about me.
Yeah.
But they were definitely like, don't waste my time, next time, you know, be upfront, even though I was. And I was like, well, like, you knew I don't do that kind of work. And it's not to say that that kind of work isn't beautiful in its own way, and
But it's
certain
just not
shots
your
are,
cup of tea.
but it's just not what I do. Yeah. Like, don't waste your time having somebody come to a shoot that you know they don't want to do what you want to do, and then trying to get them to do it when they're there.
Well, guys, that's it for today. Thanks for joining me and listening to all these crazy stories. And if you want, leave your comments in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your stories to help other people relate, and so we know that we're not alone in the situation. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification button. Looking forward to seeing you guys again super soon.